Hello, my name is Sara, and I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder, tending towards mania, and usually ending in psychosis, where I break with reality. Over 22 years ago, it was 2001 December, and I just want to. This video is just going to be right now focused on the warning signs of knowing when you're having a problem, which I have really, even though I know what the warning signs are, I never really could tell when I was getting sick. Only those around me could see it. And if you're watching this, I'm sure you either have bipolar disorder or you're probably, dealing with a loved one who has it, and I'm very sorry that you're going through this. For those who have it, and definitely for those who love someone who has this illness, because it is heartbreaking to see them and not being able to help them and feeling like helpless and becoming a bad guy. I do understand, because my sister also has bipolar disorder, and when she was going through it, I had to call the crisis people and put her in a hospital because she was really that out of control and doing risky things that could kill herself or someone else or injure someone. So, and the same thing happens to me. And every time I'd be like, what? I'm not crazy. There's nothing wrong with me. And then later, about a month later or so, I'd be like, oh my God, I was crazy. What the heck? How come I didn't know? So it's not their fault that they don't know. And it's not your fault that you can't really help them sometimes the way you wish. So anyhow, I have my list of all the warning signs that I go through. So the first one, lack of sleep. You might feel very tired, but then you're also energized. You have this energy that you shouldn't have because, you might have slept only for like 4 or 5 hours, but somehow you have all this energy that you don't know where you're getting it from. And it's like the one time, it was the last time I had an episode, and I was like, I'm so tired, but I couldn't sleep. And it's like, I knew, this is a sign, something could be wrong. And I still ended up having to be in the psych ward, even though I could see that was something I was having a problem with. And a lot of the time, people like how it feels when you get into mania. Actually, in the beginning, I really liked it because I felt like this powerful, invincible feeling, and very special. You have that delusions of grandeur, and you think like somehow you're a chosen person to save the world or do some kind of mission. No one understands, and yeah, it can be really bad. But anyhow, when I'm not able to sleep for 7 hours or more a night, and it starts becoming like less and less, like 5 hours, then I know I have a problem. You can't focus on one task, so it's really hard because you'll start something and then you'll think, I gotta start something else. So you become easily distracted, and you'll start all of these things and never finish them. Like right now, I'm actually in a hypomanic state, which if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's when you have the energy and the creativity you would have with mania. You have maybe the energy, but you're not manic. And so you're not necessarily a danger to anyone. You might just be, coming up with an invention or cleaning a lot, which is something I do, which I know when I start cleaning, there is something wrong, because I do not like to clean. And I'm not saying I'm a dirty birdie, but I do know I usually can't stand doing that. So it's like somebody was like, you just have OCD. It's like, no, I only have OCD when I'm having or might have a problem later. And that's kind of scary, because it's like, yes, I'm finally getting the spring cleaning done. But it's like, oh no. So anyhow, then hypersexuality, engaging in risky behaviors. Okay, I've done this many times, and I always feel like, I'm just sexy and I like to be sexy, and it's just part of my personality. But sorry, there will be more times where I'll just I'll just be so sexual, hypersexual, and people will mistake that because I won't even know I'm giving off that kind of signal, but they'll think I'm trying to flirt or be lascivious and stuff, and I'm not. But I do notice I have the urge to do sexual things more, and the risky behaviors like strangers, it doesn't matter. If I'm horny, I'm just gonna do it. And it's like, sometimes I'll have thoughts that I have to do it because they're related to the manic thoughts that I have, which I'll go into another time. But then there's so many symptoms, right, or signs that I'm having a problem. So overspending or shopping a lot. So if you all of a sudden start having to buy, like one time I felt the need to buy 300 bookmarks because I wanted to help kids, encourage them to read. And so I was like, I'm gonna buy all these bookmarks, and I went to the store and I bought them, and then my husband was like, take them back. And it's like, of course they didn't even refund me all of the ones that I somehow bought. I don't know, because they had to scan each one. It was just, I'm sure they were like, what the heck is going on here? Okay, so you will overspend, like, meaning you may also have bills that are due, but instead something else takes precedence. Like the one time when I decided to use my rent money without thinking about it to buy a one-way plane ticket to Paris, France, Charles de Gaulle Airport. And yeah, that was not a good idea, obviously, but I was out of my mind and wasn't thinking about repercussions. So overspending or shopping when like you get these urges to buy stuff. And recently I started buying a lot of health food stuff because like I said, I'm in a hypomanic phase right now, where I have this, creative energy. I want to make these videos or write a book on bipolar disorder because I'm very familiar with it. I'm an expert on my illness. And I bought all these things because I wanted to become more healthy. Then there's invention ideas. Like, okay, you might come up with these really great ideas that you think are going to solve some kind of problem. So you invent stuff. I've invented the porta purse, which some people have gotten use out of. I think it's useful. I use mine every day. But anyhow, but I don't think that was because I was manic, actually. But I mean, maybe I was hypomanic at the time and I thought about it, that idea. Don't remember because it was a long time ago. Creativity, more productive, or happier mood. So initially you might have a happier mood or an upbeat mood. You might smile a lot and people are like, wow, they like your energy, and you give off this really happy, positive vibe. You're more productive, you can do more and focus sometimes on things that are important to you, right? And get more done, right? So that kind of energy helps you to do those things. And then the creativity, your mind is like, you just come up with ideas that usually you don't think about, but you might be more resourceful, or like when you're thinking about, oh, I need to do this, but I don't have these tools. And then you come up with a whole nother way to solve the problem. And it's cool. And actually, again, this is kind of some of the stuff that makes you not really think it's so bad, right? That the manic episode that may be coming on, you're like, oh no, I feel good. Why are people thinking something's wrong with me? And then you get upset about it. But at first it's like, you don't know. And you just think it's like you have this cheery disposition now, and that people should be happy to see you like this. But then it's like, uh-oh, wait, her mood has changed, and they're probably like, uh-oh, this is not normal for her. And not that you should always be a Debbie Downer or anything, but yeah, there's mood changes that happen that I think people who are going through bipolar disorder, like an episode, who have it, sometimes don't catch it because it's just kind of like, well, now I feel better, and it's like, better than what? Because before you maybe didn't feel, I don't know, you can go back and forth. Anyhow, what am I trying to say? Yeah, you also have nonstop talking, which it's not me talking right now. That is nonstop. It's kind of faster. You might talk really fast. People can't even understand you at times. And you have these flight of ideas, which you can't stop thinking. And not just stop talking. You might also keep walking, like you need to walk a lot, and be very active, or listen to music all of the time, right? Or start dancing just out of nowhere, which doesn't necessarily seem bad, but it can be like, okay, in a social setting, this is not something that society really encourages, like for people just to out of the blue start dancing, or whatever it is, and people would just be like, oh my god, is something wrong with this person? Usually that's probably what they're thinking, and they are probably right. But then again, it's like, you're like, oh, who cares? I don't care what anybody thinks. Or writing, when you start writing a lot and writing all these things down, like I have spiral notebooks where I start writing stuff, and it's like, it makes no sense to anybody else. It's kind of like Kurt Cobain's writings, probably, that no one would be able to understand but him. And usually you only understand these writings when you're actually in the midst of a manic episode or about to be there. So it's kind of scary, because it's like, oh man, I remember what I was thinking when I did this or that and I was manic. And it's like, oh no, this is a bad sign, because when I actually can remember so vividly what was going through my mind when I did this or that and was sick, it's kind of like oh shit, that's a sign that something could be wrong. Okay, so and usually it is. You might have religious thoughts, right? But a lot of the time that I had manic episodes, it really had to do with the Christian religion, which I was brought up in, and God. It had to do with God, but God would be protecting me, and I had this close relationship that I feel towards God, and that nobody could understand, and that God would speak to my heart, not necessarily hearing God's voice, but it would be like, okay, what are you saying, God? Oh, okay, I have to, do this or that. Like, the one example is steal a police car, which people would be like, what? You stole a police car? That's so cool. Haha, you're so gangsta. No, I am not gangsta. That was one of the worst things I could ever do in my life. Got me put in jail for 9 months in Georgia, in the South, Clayco. And yeah, I wish I could take back that 5 minute of, manic episode where God supposedly told me to do that, but I cannot, and it's affected my whole life. And I'm not gonna say it was all bad, because I did learn a lot in jail. I did learn a lot, and I feel like everything that happens can be used for good. You just have to look at it a certain way, right, and see the silver lining, which I tend to do. So let's see. Yeah, so, and you think that nothing bad's going to happen to you because God has you, right? So I would walk across the street and just look straight up and not look both ways. I would just look like that and go right across the street and be like, I'm not going to die. And I wouldn't, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't. So yeah. And then you feel invincible. This is the part where when you start feeling this invincibility, it is very hard to not want to stay in that state, because it's like you're fearless, you're powerful, but you do also get forgetful at the same time. But you just feel like you can do anything. Like, you are just like, you have these powers that nobody else has, and no one understands that you have a special purpose here on earth. Mine is usually to save everyone and take them back to heaven to be with God. And so the world has to end, but it's a happy ending. I don't want to kill anyone, but usually I have to die in this scenario. So anyhow, yeah, you might curse a lot, right? Become aggressive, easily angered, and have no filter. So first you start off like kind of happy and everything's good, and then it goes to this like, oh my God, it's like, I guess because you're not sleeping enough, so you're very like disgruntled, and you're perturbed and tired and angry, and so that comes out, and you take it out on people who you definitely would never take it out on, right? You love these people, but when you're manic, it's like, oh my God, it's terrible. It's really terrible. It's terrible to go through that and have that person you love treating you like that, because you don't know what's going on, and it's like, what did I do? You didn't do anything wrong, okay? And they're just having a problem, so it's not even necessarily their fault either, which is really hard to understand, because usually it has to be someone's fault, but it really is like just the sickness. And what else? Okay, so increased stress, you get increased stress, which produces anxiety. And so in that case, I know for me, I would feel so anxious, I have to keep taking a bath. I would take these hot baths like all day long, because I felt like I needed to calm down, right? I couldn't calm down. And so something to calm you down was taking baths. You also have decreased hunger. So you might start saying, well, I'm only going to eat when I'm hungry, because you don't feel hungry, really. You'll even start losing weight, like in your wrists, in your waist. Like people who have belts, probably their belt will get loose, right? So yeah, you have a loss of appetite. Which at first I would think like, oh, this is good. I'm going to save on groceries because I'm not hungry. And it's like, oh, I'm going to lose weight because I'm not hungry. But the bad thing is something's going on to bypass the hunger, and it's usually not a good thing. Then let's see. Increased energy and activity. So you always have to be doing something. You can't just sit still. Like even in the mental ward, sometimes I would just be walking back and forth, pacing, and it's like I couldn't sit still. I had to be doing something. And I know that's when I was in the mental ward for the sickness, so they were already trying to help me with drugs to come down, usually Haldol and Ativan. That is what works for me to bring me down, but and back to earth. But yeah, people use different things, and that's the sedative that I prefer. But what else? Your everyday life becomes overwhelming. So every day, like, it gets harder and harder to function. And it's like things that were not necessarily difficult for you before, like, you know, your routines you had, those get so difficult. Like, you cannot even just, I don't know, get up out of bed to make something to eat, and go to work. Your work is like, oh my God, you know, I don't even know how it is to really go to work when I'm sick, because I've always gotten fired for my job. Actually, I do know how it is to go to work sick and get fired, and then have to get on disability because I lost my job 3 times as a teacher, a Spanish teacher in middle school. Yeah, which it's sad, man, because I really liked doing that, even though it was a stressful job. It's stressful, but I kind of, I don't know, I love kids. I don't think I'm a danger to kids, but I know because of certain things I've done, like the stealing a police car, that has basically ruined my chance of ever probably working with kids again, even though I was found not guilty by reason of insanity, and GRI, but it doesn't matter because certain counties, let's just say, don't care, right? They're like, whatever. But I think it would take someone who's been to jail to really work with the kids today, because they need help, you know what I'm saying? And the ones who are in jail, they know hard times, you know what I'm saying? It's really hard. Let's see. Oh yeah, everyday life becomes overwhelming, and then stuff seems to slow down. Like you slow down. Like you might. It looks like you're going in slow motion for real, and it's like time kind of slows down too. So it's just really weird. You can become very philosophical, and so you turn everything into some kind of, you think about things so much, but like in ways that you never thought before. And you usually maybe wouldn't even think like that, but for some reason, everything has such importance and significance in your life that you just do this kind of existentialism. Is that, I don't even know if that's the right word, but yeah. You deny anything's wrong with you. I definitely have done that many times, probably every single time. Except for the last time. I did kind of know, okay, something is wrong, but I didn't catch it in time. And I had already had become psychotic, had a psychotic break where reality did not exist anymore. My reality was somewhere else, and it was pretty scary. It is very scary when you go through that stuff. And you don't know what to believe. You don't know what's real, right? And you're seeing things and hearing things that people say aren't there, but you don't know that that's true or not, because what you see you think is there, and what you hear you think is real, right? And what you feel you believe is true. And so it's really hard, man. Then the outside world's problems take precedence over my own family, right? I all of a sudden started thinking, I have to save the world. This one lady, she was in the emergency room, and I remember I was manic, but they were saying that she couldn't afford whatever procedure. And I was like, oh my God, here, I'll pay for her. And they're like, what? No, you can't. And I'm like, no. I'll pay for whoever needs the medical stuff done, because that's not right. She needs it. She needs this medical procedure. So I have money. You could take it. And it's like, I needed that money, obviously, for my own bills and family, but I was willing to just drop everything to help somebody else, which sounds like a nice thing and a good thing, but they wouldn't let me do it because they knew I was having a mental issue, and they could probably get in trouble for allowing that. So I didn't get to help her, but yeah, saving the world becomes way more important than anything having to do with anybody in your life. Even your kids. For me, it would be that, not that I didn't love my kids or want to be with my kids, but I would always think I'd have to become a homeless prostitute and never see my children again. And to think that is very difficult, because I would never want to leave my kids or abandon them, but it's like you think God is telling you to do that. And people are like, what? Why would God want you to be a prostitute? I don't know why God wanted me to steal a car. I don't know why God wanted me to do any of this stuff. And you're probably like, yeah, it wasn't God. Okay, you know what? I didn't card God or ID him. I didn't say, show me that you're the real true God. Okay, I just was believing whatever. And yeah, maybe it is the devil. I don't know who it is, because it does feel like possession. When you go manic and you're doing these moves and taking all your clothes off and doing all kinds of stuff that people are like, what are you doing? Stop. And I'm like, I can't stop. And I couldn't stop. And it's just crazy. Anyhow, you become a martyr. The Jesus complex. Okay, so I think my mom really emphasized the importance of being like Jesus a little too much in me, because then it's like, oh, I gotta be just like Jesus, and I'll be sacrificed, put me on the cross, and I'll save everyone. And holy crap, man. That kind of stuff is just crazy. So, yeah, that would happen. I would go out of my way to talk to strangers, and like I would go up to them and just hug them, or it would be so important that I get these people's attention, right? Like interacting with other people, it would be like, well, the universe is drawing them to me, or this whole idea of attraction, the laws of attraction, manifest destiny or manifestation, and all of that. And it's like, oh yeah, I really got to talk to these guys over here. And these guys are like, what? And I'm like, okay, let me have a hug, and they're like, oh, okay, you got big boobs, okay. So, yeah. And I was on vacation when I was doing that, and my sister was just like, what are you doing, Sarah? And I thought she was just jealous or something, or I don't know. I'm just like, yeah, Maria, nothing's wrong with me. You're just unfriendly. But yeah, you're easily distracted. Like I said before, you can easily get off topic and go off on tangents. So you have no sense of time. You start having no sense of time and poor time management. So you'll say, okay, I'm going to do this for however long, and then you'll lose track of time. You might have been saying you're going to work on something for an hour. Next thing you know, 10 hours later, you're still trying to do the same thing you started off doing. And people are just like, what's going on? It's like, because you can't focus, and then it's like you get caught up and distracted by other things. So it takes you a very long time to get something done. And usually it doesn't get done. It doesn't get done. You take no responsibility. Okay, so for whatever is going on, you're not responsible. Again, God is to blame, or, it's always something, usually I think something supernatural that is the explanation, and it's not your fault. And I mean, again, you're sick, so really it is kind of not your fault, but people will blame you, right? They'll say, okay, well, you didn't take your medicine, Sarah. Well, it's like, hold on, I was feeling better. Why do I need to take medicine if I'm feeling better? Okay? Or, oh, this medicine, I think, is actually making me worse because I have side effects, and nobody seems to care about that. And then, oh, I've never been off my medicine, so maybe if I stop, and I'm not telling anybody to go off their medicine, okay? Because I know for myself, every single time I've tried to do that, I have ended up in the mental ward, and it's not good. And so, yes, keep taking your medicine, be under the supervision of your doctor or psychiatrist. And I know we don't want to take it because we want to be natural. We want to feel like we are like everybody else who doesn't need medicine. And, but you do, okay? And I don't know you personally. I don't know your situation. All I know is my experience. And for me, okay, I know I do need it, and I do take it. And actually, the last time and the time before that, before I actually went to jail for stealing the police car, I was taking my medicine. This is the scary part. I was taking my medicine every day, and that wasn't why I had the problem. And I'm like, oh my God, if it's not the medicine, then there's other things that are triggering this, especially stress or the loss. I'm finding out that if I lose something, right? Marriage, going through divorce, lose a loved one, a pet, Benji, my daughter's cat, my mom, my grandmother, these people who just recently died. Like, whenever I lose something, or even something exciting, it could be, I just had a baby, but I can't sleep because I was almost about to die, and they had to do this emergency C-section, and it's, oh gosh, man, I could tell you a whole bunch of stories, but basically, it could be something exciting, like, oh, I'm supposed to go to Spain, and it was like, oh my God, I can't wait, we're gonna go during La Semana Santa, right, Holy Week, this is gonna be so good, of course, oh my God, Holy Week, I'm Jesus again, so it's like, oh God, man, but I couldn't sleep because I was so excited. So then it's like I stopped sleeping, right? Then after stop sleeping, then do I need my medicine anymore? No, stop taking the medicine. The medicine thing is actually usually, I would say for me, the last to go. But in the beginning, it was the first. In the beginning, when I started having these problems, like I said, this was 2001, I'd feel better, and it's like, oh, I don't need this anymore. right? Or, oh, if I'm good and nobody can see a difference, then I really didn't need this medicine, so I might stop taking it without telling anyone, right? So I know now I shouldn't do that, but I didn't stop taking my medicine the last 2 times, and I still had a problem. So that takes me to the desire to travel, spur of the moment. Okay, so I right now live in an apartment. Thank God I'm not homeless anymore. I went through that as well. But I actually kind of enjoyed it because I didn't have to pay rent and it wasn't so bad. I came up with ways to make it work and doable. But I do not drive hardly ever outside my apartment for more than 10, maybe 15 minutes away from where I live. And when I'm manic though, usually, this is not, the last time I went manic, last year in August, I actually did feel like traveling somewhere because I thought I had to save the children who are getting sex trafficked by all these rich people. And I wanted to go stop that. Somehow I thought I could, and it was a lot of weird stuff, and I really can't even get into it right now on this because I'm already talking a long time. But usually it'll be like, I need to go to New York and wear a sari, and then I'm gonna bring peace to the whole world because I'm sending the Statue of Liberty back to France. I don't know, it is crazy. It's like it was a gift from France, and so it's like, okay, I'm gonna take the Statue of Liberty, I'm gonna hold it with the sari on. Anyways, I'm half, okay, if anybody cares to know this as well, I'm half Indian. My dad is from India, Kerala, right? He speaks Malayalam, and he's South Asian. It's really Southwest Asian because Kerala is on the west coast of the continent. Not the continent, the country, but and the continent. But and my mom was Irish. I thought she was Irish, English, and German. I found out because my daughters did Ancestry DNA or whatever it is, 23andMe or whatever, that we are actually all Irish on that side. So it doesn't matter. I'm Irish and Indian. I'm Windian. I'm white and Indian. I am a human being. I am myself. I look however I look, which is usually people think I'm Hispanic. So hablo español bastante bien porque necesitaba aprenderlo para entender lo que estaban diciendo todo el mundo, right? So I speak Spanish because I had to learn it to understand what everybody was saying to me, basically. And I like to learn languages. I like to talk. Also, okay, so you might travel spur of the moment, right? You want to get up and go somewhere. Obsession and, or go somewhere like to another country like France. Obsession and compulsion, wanting to change. So you become obsessed with wanting to change yourself in some way, right? Maybe you want to dye your hair, right? Or change how you look, or the way you act, or how you dress, or you're changing something about yourself. And like how I'm trying to become more healthy. So it's like, Sarah, you're trying to change, give up sugar now, and try to, cut out caffeine and eat only whole foods, which these are not bad things. And sometimes it's like a good thing. You're like, yeah, I'm trying to change for the better. This is going to make me healthier. But wanting to change like that just out of the blue or something, or it's something that starts because of something else, it could be a sign that you're gonna go manic soon, or you're in the process. Yeah, so those are all my things. I have so I had written 25 different signs down to know when I'm going manic. And again, this may be something that you can relate to if you have bipolar disorder. I have bipolar 1, like I said, tending towards mania. So I think as long as you've had at least one manic episode and you have bipolar disorder, you're bipolar 1, I think. I'm not a psychiatrist. I used to want to be one. And I said it was to help all my family members for free. I didn't know I would have to help myself too, right? It starts at home. So anyhow, I hope this has helped you in some way. Thank you for joining me for the warning signs of if you're having a manic episode if you have bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, tending towards mania. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.